have no lack of respect for the architects and people that are out here. What I get to is WTC 7. It's always been hard for me to believe WTC 7, and what you've described there. I mean, the British broadcast it a half hour early before it actually went down. There's all these things around WTC 7 that causes a fair-minded person just to sit back and go, wow, wait a minute. And so that's always there, and I appreciate your evidence. I'd like to ask you something. You know, architects get consulted not just to design, I am paid to design the most amazing buildings out there, but also to get rid of them. And they say, hey, we're going to take down this ancient sports stadium. And
they talk to the structural engineers to find the key columns and beams in the building to target.
This is your world, and I'm not, testifying against that. But the structural engineers and architects go hand in hand, because the architect brings you these beautiful designs. The structural engineer tells you if it can come true with all the stuff that we have to work with these days, right? And the permits and the code and everything you have to go through. So wouldn't you get to a point, it's like when the police see massive frauds or massive thefts, the first thing the police always say is, where's the crew? Who could have pulled this off? And they have a feeling about what organizations or people have the kind of brains, clout, intelligence, access, and that's good police work to figure out, okay, who could have robbed the museum this is? Who's the crew? This wasn't rookies. And they start asking themselves these questions. Did you and these other architects who know structural engineers, and I know there's structural engineers that were part of these 3,000 signatures, right?
Over 100 of them.
Didn't you ever get to the point, and this isn't the speculation, to say, wow, what kind of a crew this would take in? Mm-hmm. And wouldn't some of you said, hey, I was part of the Kingdome being torn down in Seattle. Boy, the crew was like, da-da-da-da-da.
As a matter of fact, one of the technical explosive loaders who brought down the Kingdome is in our documentary, 9/11 Explosive Evidence.
Perfect,
he says it looks exactly like a controlled demolition.
Because that was a flawed building, by the way, and it had to come down in a very special way because it was actually a dangerous building. I read a little bit about that. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that one of those people was there. Didn't you guys get to a point and say, wow, where's the crew? Who knows enough about this to do it? Not merely foreign agents that worked with an elevator company inside. Wasn't there a thinking about this?
Oh, yeah. In fact, Kevin...
And then how do you get rid of them? Because remember, Oswald
Well, I don't know
shot.
that, but Kevin Ryan documents in his book another 19 suspects. He lays them out for you, and their connections to NIST, who has connections to nanothermite. It's pretty incredible. Kevin Ryan is one of the major researchers in the country on this. David Ray Griffin's written 14 books on the subject, which fingers
where did
people
those gentlemen,
and
where
talks
did those
about
folks
who's
come
responsible.
From? Sorry to interrupt you, but you made a point there, and I want to dig into it. So, okay, that's a possible crew. Where did where did that crew come from?
You're talking about the explosives loaders?
No. You said
Kevin Ryan, another 19 suspects.
Correct. Where did those 19 come from?
These are top individuals, including CEOs of corporations in the World Trade Center, many of whose people were moved out of the World Trade Center prior to 9/11. Interestingly, so others were sacrificed. So, in fact,
Cantor Fitzgerald up there,
and
whole company,
and in the floors that were hit by the airplanes, he documents that 5 floors above and below, roughly, in the North and South Towers, were retrofitted with fireproofing upgrades in the year or so before 9/11. So was that an opportunity to place fluid applied nanothermite, because we know it's fluid because it's dual layered, red and gray. And there are these tiny chips that we talked about being peer-reviewed in the Bentham Open Chemical Physics Journal called Active Thermitic Materials in the World Trade Center Dust. So he invites us to look at some of these characters who, in fact, the warden, if you will, of Iraq, didn't forget his name. Paul Bremer, was brought on, the CEO of one of these corporations in the World Trade Center, brought on the day after 9/11 to finger Osama bin Laden. And then he's made the Iraq leader, if you will. There's a word for that. So he's in charge of the reconstruction and after we invade Iraq. So anyway, he's a very suspicious individual. They're numerous. Mayor Giuliani has his fingers all over this. Cheney was put in charge of the Tripod 2 exercise, which brought hundreds and hundreds of state, local, and government officials to Pier 92 in New York and in a drill the day before 9/11. And guess what? When Building 7 went down, all of the responsibility was transferred over to that set of operatives and agency leaders who took over the follow-up, if you will, to the attacks.
Mr. Gage, did you just say Giuliani had his finger all over this as well as Cheney? Did you just say that?
Many people have fingered them specifically.
As what?
As involved in the planning and execution and the cover-up of these attacks.
Are you one of the people that believe Rudy Giuliani and even Dick Cheney were involved in it?
Sure, I believe that.
Really?
Because I have heard enough about it. For instance...
so you believe Rudy Giuliani played a part in 9/11? America's mayor on 9/11 was the person, the culprit.
He had to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Please explain.
So,
and there are people who have researched his complicity. For one, he had foreknowledge of the buildings, the Twin Towers, coming down and said, we got notice that they're going to come down. Well, wait a minute. What about the 343 firefighters? They didn't get notice that the building was coming down so they could get out of there. Only he had it. This is on
So what are the
public
chances
record.
that Rudy Giuliani had a major part in 9/11?
That's very high.
Very high.
Yeah.
Richard, can I ask? So I have a question
Richard.
here. I don't know how you, because I was asking.
Do the research. It's going to help you, Adam.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.